Hi, it's Steph, and we're at Lowe's, and they've received a bunch of new spring inventory, perennials, trees, and shrubs, so let's go ahead and take a look. The first thing that caught my eye is that they're also doing a Spring Fest, and these 2.5 quart perennials are on sale, 2 for $10, and look how gorgeous these are. I actually went to a local nursery yesterday and bought 2 of the Proven Winners Silver Gumdrop Heuchera that look very similar to this, and I paid $10 a container, and had I waited, I could have bought 2 for $10. So this is the house brand Silver Scrolls Coral Bells. It is $8.98 or on sale 2 for $10. They are a shade perennial. Let's see here. They want to be kept moist for the first year, and they are hardy to zone 4 or -20 to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. They are non-hardy in gardening zones 1 through 3. They mature to be 24 inches in height and 12 inches in width, and they claim to be deer resistant. Now, something eats coral bells or heucheras in my garden. It might be bunnies, but I really love the interest that this foliage provides. The veining on this one is beautiful. They also have this variety called Grape Expectations Coral Bells, and it's more of a red coloring. If I had to guess, this is probably the house brand version of the Primo Wildberry or Rose version of the Proven Winners Coral Bells. And so this one here, let's see, it is also a shade perennial, needs 1 to 3 hours of morning sun. It's a mounding perennial, and let's see what zones these are hardy in. So this variety here is hardy to zone 4, just like the last one, -20 to -30 degrees Fahrenheit, non-hardy in zones 1 through 3. And this one is 12 to 34 inches in height and 24 inches in width. Really beautiful color. This is a great way to get color in a shade garden through use of foliage like coral bells and different colored hostas. Really pretty. They also have some of the Proven Winners Heaven Sent Jacob's Ladder. Now, these are really pretty perennial because they have this fern-like foliage, and in spring they send up these bloom stalks of these dainty little lavender flowers. Really pretty. Now, I purchased a couple of these. I just did a Home Depot visit, and I actually picked up 3 of these in a 1-gallon container for $12.98, and these look to be a bit bigger. So let's find out how big these are and how much. So this one here is a 1 gallon. So the one that I picked up must have been just shy of a 1 gallon, and it was $12.98. And this 1 gallon here at Lowe's is $15.98. So it's a bit bigger. A lot of these tend to be root bound in the container. So even if you buy one, it's very likely that you can divide it right out of the container and make 2 plants. But this is a beautiful perennial. It is full sun. It gets to be 18 to 24 inches in height. It needs 15-inch spacing. It is hardy in zones 3 through 7 or to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. And it blooms late spring, full sun to part shade. Heaven Sent Jacob's Ladder. They also have some Proven Winners Red Hot Poker or Nephofia. Now, at the Home Depot, they had an orange variety that was pretty much all orange. And here they have the Pyromania Hot and Cold, which is an orange and creamy color. It's almost gradient or has like an ombre effect. This is a full sun perennial. This container here is a 2.5 quart, which is the size that I bought at Home Depot for $12.98. So it looks like both places have the same price on the 2.5 quart Proven Winners at $12.98, and the 1 gallon looks to be at the $15.98 price point. So this Pyromania Hot and Cold Nephofia, full sun, it gets to be 30 to 36 inches in height, needs 24-inch spacing, hardy in zones 5B through 9 or -15 degrees Fahrenheit, and it has bloom time of early to mid-summer. Full sun. Now, the great thing about these is that even when they're not in bloom, you will still have visual interest with this plant by all of this strappy grass-like foliage. So this still provides really a good amount of interest in your garden even when they're not in bloom. Now, I will show you an example of some of the blooms that are already spent. So it has this really pretty salmon color orange, and it graduates to a bit of a creamy color. When they're done blooming, you would just follow that stalk all the way to the bottom, and you would snip it to deadhead it. And then you will also find that a lot of these still have shoots that are coming up, such as that. So this is a really great perennial. Lots of pretty hanging baskets of pansies. These are great cool weather annuals. They have a mixed variety planted in these. They are really beautiful. For me, they're kind of short-lived. We'd put them out for about a month and then it would warm up enough to do summer containers. So I don't tend to buy pansies, but if it's something you're interested in, $12.98 is a great price. Some more coral bells. And these are by Monrovia. This one's called Magma Coral Bell. It is a partial sun or shade perennial for $13.98. And it says it's deer resistant, easy care, brilliantly colored foliage, and it needs 1 to 3 hours of morning sun. It needs to be semi-moist. It gets 12 to 24 inches in height and 18 to 24 inches in width. Hardy, -20 to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. Check out this beautiful dianthus. They're like mini carnations. Now, dianthus also has this very strappy grass-like foliage. It stays in a low mound and then it sends up bloom stalks. Some of them are taller than others. This doesn't look to be a variety that's too tall. So these are also by Monrovia, and this variety here is called Super Trooper Lilac on Purple Dianthus. It's a full sun perennial. These are $10.98. Let's see how big they get. So these here, they need 6 hours of direct sun, keep the watering semi-moist, and they mature to 10 to 14 inches in height and 10 to 12 inches in width. Hardy, 0 to -10 degrees Fahrenheit. They bloom in summer. Now these can also be deadheaded, and that means just cutting off the bloom stalks once they are spent, and then it'll keep sending up new blooms for you. But really beautiful color. They also have it in this very vibrant pink, like a bubblegum pink. And this one here is called Everbloom Strawberry Tart Dianthus, full sun perennial, also $10.98. Says it's easy care, 6+ hours of direct sun, keep the watering semi-moist, 6 to 8 inches in height and 15 to 18 inches in width, blooms in summer. Now here's something that I have never grown, probably because it's one of these plants that are what I consider to be a spring container plant, even though it is listed as perennial. And I don't do a whole lot of spring container planting, but these are absolutely beautiful. Check that out. So this is the Monrovia Ballerina Amethyst Ice Primrose. It is a partial sun perennial for $10.98. It needs 3 to 6 hours of morning sun, and it gets 6 to 12 inches in height and 6 to 12 inches in width, blooms in spring, hardy -10 to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if you do grow primrose, let me know how it does in your garden. Does it return every spring? And based on its stature, I'm guessing this is a front of the border type plant, but I'd be interested in knowing, so comment below. They still have some Armeria or Sea Thrift. I actually just planted a new drift of this recently in a video I made about a week ago. It's a perennial. It likes very well draining soil. It has this grass-like strappy foliage and these little pom-pom blooms atop these wiry stems that look like little alliums. They're really pretty. And they do bloom for a really long time, from spring through fall with regular deadheading. Again, just cutting off any spent blooms, and then it will start sending up new shoots for new blooms. The ones that I had didn't make it through the winter in my zone because we had an exceptionally wet winter, and again, these do like well draining soil. So if they sit in water for too long, they can rot at the crown, killing the plant. But if you have, say, a rock garden or a really dry area, these would be a good candidate. So this variety is Sea Dreams Thrift. These are $5.98 for these quart-sized containers. They need 6+ hours of direct sun, low watering once established, maturity size 10 to 12 inches in height and 10 to 12 inches in width. They bloom spring, summer, and fall, and hardy -20 to -10 degrees Fahrenheit. They also have this variety here, which is Dreameria Daydream Sandwort, and this one is just a bit more pink. I'll show you the difference in color, but they have the same type of specs. So here's the difference in color. This is more of a lavender, pink purple color, and this is more of a bubblegum pink. And look at this vibrant dianthus. The dianthus has really pretty gray, like a blue-gray colored foliage that stands out really nicely against, say, greens in the garden. You can actually see the contrast right here. There's a green with the armeria, and here is the blue-gray foliage of the dianthus. Now this variety, these are smaller containers of dianthus. They're the quart size, and this variety is called Early Bird Chili Dianthus. It's a perennial, and let's see how big it gets. So this one here, let's see, it gets to be 4 to 6 inches in height, 4 to 6 inches in width, blooms spring, summer, and fall, -10 to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. Lots of phlox. This is the ground cover type creeping phlox. It comes in shades of light pink and light purple. I've even seen white and some of that other shade of pink back there. Now these are their 2.5 quart containers, and look at this one. It's actually pretty budded, so it would still bloom for you in your garden. These look absolutely beautiful in spring. Mine come right after my daffodils, and these are on sale, 2 for $10. So good time to pick some up. Creeping phlox or ground cover trailing type phlox is a full sun perennial. These also look beautiful if you have a let's say a retaining wall trailing across the top of the wall. Really pretty. So these here, they are hardy to zone 3, so very hardy, and -30 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit, non-hardy in zones 1 through 2. They get to be 4 to 6 inches in height and 14 to 18 inches in width. So they definitely spread wider than they are tall, which makes them a great option for a ground cover. Even after all of these blooms are spent, you still have a tuft of green grass-like foliage. So it does fill some gaps in the garden. So it's a good gap filler with the bonus of spring blooms. Lots of evergreens, so let's go ahead and check some of those out. Spring is a great time of year to take advantage of the more steady rain that we get, and put in a living fence or some privacy screening through the use of some evergreens. So this is the green giant arborvitae. In my experience, these are a bit more deer resistant, and they are a full sun tree or evergreen. They do need steady water when you first plant them until they're established. Arborvitaes do like water. These get to be 30 feet in height and 15 feet in width. They're hardy -10 to -20 degrees Fahrenheit or down to zone 5. And they have a more loose type foliage structure than, say, the emerald green arborvitae. And if I had to guess, this is probably a 4-foot. Let's see if the tag gives us information. They also have, like at the Home Depot, they also have this contractor pack pricing. So if you buy, there it's if you buy 10 or more, you get 10% off. Here it looks like you need to buy 15 or more. So these are $59.98 each. And my best guess is that this is about a 4-foot tree. And the first time that I've seen these Proven Winners North Pole Arborvitae at the garden centers. Now what happens is typically Proven Winners will roll out any new introductions to local garden centers first, and about a year, sometimes 2 years later, you'll begin seeing them at their box stores like Home Depot and Lowe's. So this is the first time I've seen the North Pole Arborvitae at the box store. So today they're at Lowe's. These are a more narrow type arborvitae. Now I can't speak to the deer resistance on these, but if you have a small space in which you want to put some vertical evergreen interest, these might be a good option for you. So these are a fast-growing North Pole arborvitae, has a narrow pyramidal form, ideal as a specimen or in privacy screens. Instant elegance. And your plants really do get so beautifully set off against a evergreen backdrop. So these like sun or part shade, although I do find that they become more robust in full sun, arborvitae in general. And they are hardy in zones 3 through 8 or -40 degrees Fahrenheit, -40 degrees Celsius. The size on these is 10 to 15 feet tall and 3 to 5 feet wide. So these would work for so many people in many different applications. Really good size. Look how pretty that is with snow. Here in New England, winter interest is a must in our gardens. And let's see how much these are. The North Pole Arborvitae is in a 4-gallon container for $49.98. They have some small 1-gallon containers. They look like they could be maybe even a little smaller. They're 2.9 quart of some PGM Rhododendrons. Now the PGM Rhododendron have smaller foliage, and these here are part sun, 3 to 6 hours of morning sun, and they are really pretty. They definitely have smaller foliage than the traditional rhododendrons. This one looks like it's all bloomed out, but this size here would make it nice and easy to plant. They're $11.98. This would also make a great gift as a housewarming present. So if you have someone who moved into a new home, that would make a really great gift. So let's check out the specs on these. So the PGM gets to be 5 feet high or 5 feet tall to 5 feet wide. It needs 4 to 5 foot spacing. They're hardy to zone 4 or -20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And yeah, they're really pretty. Evergreen interest with spring flowering. They also have some emerald green Arborvitae. You see here it says, water me. Water often the first year. So great for screening, privacy, and concealment. Dense pyramidal evergreen, $59.98. And this one gets to be 15 feet high by 4 feet wide. So in size, it looks like this would be very similar to the North Pole Arborvitae that we just took a look at by Proven Winners. And these also look to be, my best guess is about a 4-foot tree if we take out the height of the container. Some flowering spring trees. Looks like some fountain cherry trees. Let's take a look. So this one looks like a beautiful flowering dogwood. Look at this pink color. I find dogwoods to be extremely slow to grow. At least they are in my garden. Are they slow for you? Let me know in the comments. So this is a part sun tree. It is $99.98, and we'll check out what size container this is. So part sun, 3 to 6 hours. It says water, keep moist first year, 2 times per week after that. It matures to 25 feet in height and 15 feet in width. Cold hardiness is -10 to -20 degrees Fahrenheit or zone 5. And it's all budded up. Actually, this one looks like it might have already opened up and had these little tiny blooms. But let's see what kind of container size it's in for the $99.98 price point. So it's not giving me a size, but my best guess is that this is probably a 10 or 15 gallon size container. This one is also beautiful. This is a weeping snow fountain cherry. Look how pretty that is. White blooms. Now I didn't take this tag off the tree. It was actually already in the container. It must have fallen off. And it is a full sun tree. This one here is $169. That's a pretty big container. It might be a 20 gallon. You'll definitely need some help to pick that up. And it blooms in spring, has a fountain shape, and it says that it gets 12 feet high by 20 feet wide, hardy to zone 5, -10 to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. And here it is. You can see anytime that you see a fountain or a weeping type tree, they basically look like water spraying out of a fountain. That's the shape that the canopy takes on. Sistina plum tree. I've actually never seen this type of tree. It doesn't look like a fruiting plum tree. It looks like a flowering or a decorative type plum tree. And let's check this out. It says it blooms in spring. It looks like it would have dark foliage with these small pink blooms, very light colored pink blooms. And it says that it gets 7 to 10 feet high, 5 feet wide. So nice and compact, actually. This might be a good option, say, next to a patio, if it's not too messy. So you probably have to just do a little research on that. And it's hardy to zone 3, so very hardy. -30 to -10 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a cool new find. $37.98, and it looks to be about a 5 to 7 gallon container. They have a Yoshino flowering cherry. I planted one of these last spring. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that. It starts off with this light pink bloom that ages to almost white. This is also a 5 to 7 gallon container for $39.98. So this is a full sun flowering tree, and it gets to be 40 feet in height, 30 feet in width, hardy to zone 5, -10 to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. And here's an example of the blooms. Some prairie fire crabapples. Now this crabapple has a really pretty dark foliage. And they also get fruit for the birds, berries. The thing with crabapples is there's a type that has persistent fruit and non-persistent. So the persistent fruit holds onto the tree better for longer, where the non-persistent will drop its fruit and make a bit of a mess. So something to consider when you're looking for a variety of crabapple. So this one here is a Manzo Silvestri prairie fire, and has these really beautiful red foliage and blooms. This is $42.98. They like full sun. This looks to be a 5 to 7 gallon container. 20 feet in height and 20 feet in width. It is hardy to zone 4, -20 to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is a really pretty tree if you're looking for something with different colored foliage. And these being small, they actually have a really nice canopy structure. So when you're shopping for these trees at these box stores, something you want to consider is a lot of times they cram a lot of these trees into the trucks, and for that reason some of the branches might become kind of wonky. So you want to just kind of pull it out away from the other trees and inspect it and make sure that it has a nice rounded canopy all the way around. And of course, every tree has a face, which means a side of the tree that's better than the other. So when you plant it, you'll want to get the better side of the tree where you want it to face. Here's another type of crabapple. This one's called Robinson, and it looks like it has pink blooms. Full sun, also 42.98, blooms in spring, and it gets to be 20 to 25 feet tall, 25 feet wide. Hardy to zone 4. So here is a third type of crabapple that I found here at Lowe's today, and this one is called a white flowering crabapple. So this one has white blooms, blooms in spring, full sun, and this one gets to be 20 feet in height by 25 feet in width. Hardy to zone 3, -30 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Now you see this right here? Tells you that there's a 1-year guarantee. So if you buy any of these trees at your local box stores, I believe that Home Depot and Lowe's both have the same warranty, a 1-year warranty. You want to keep this tag, the one that's on the tree, as much of the things that come with the tree as possible. So the tag, this tag, the container that has the barcode on it, as well as the receipt in a safe place so that if your tree doesn't make it, you would be able to replace it with a 1-year warranty. You do have to bring back the dead tree or shrub or perennial in order to get your credit for your warranty. So something to keep in mind. Here are some shade trees. They're not shade trees in the sense that they need to be planted in the shade. They're shade trees because they offer shade underneath them. But this one needs to be planted in full sun. This is a Triumph Elf or Elm. Listen to me, Elf. Steph. Triumph Elm. And it is a shade tree which lowers your energy costs. This one here is $99.98. And it gets to be 55 feet in height, 45 feet in width. It is hardy to zone 4 or -20 to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. And let's see how big this one is. This is a pretty good size container. Again, I believe it's in that 10 to 15 gallon range. A sycamore tree. So anytime that you plant one of these really large growing shade trees, you certainly want to do a little bit of research. Where are you going to plant it? Is it close to a sidewalk? How are the root systems? If they're shallow or not. And because you don't want to plant anything that's going to cause damage on a driveway, a sidewalk, or a septic system, for example. So some research is definitely necessary. And of course, you always have to call Dig Safe before making holes for a new tree. But here, this one here, this is a sycamore. And let's see, it's full sun. It's $59.98. It gets to be 80 feet in height, 70 feet in width. Beautiful. And very big. Hardy to zone 4, -20 to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. And some river birches. River birches like water. I actually planted one last year because it's a problem solver tree for me. I have a spot that's very wet, so I planted a heritage river birch. Mine was a multi-stem, but river birches are also considered shade trees. They have a very open, wispy type canopy, and they also are a feature landscape tree because they have a peeling bark, which offers winter interest. So this is a full sun tree. This one here is $54.98. And it gets to be 40 to 60 feet in height, 40 feet in width, and is hardy to zone 3 or -30 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Now this is a single trunk. It's a single trunk tree, but they often come in multi-trunk as well, which I actually prefer, and I think they're really beautiful. They still have lots of fruit trees in stock, some Santa Rosa plum and some pears here. They have oriental pears, apples. So if you're still looking for some fruit trees, peach trees, they still have quite a bit in stock at Lowe's. Here's a bit of a smaller version of a clump river birch, and this one does have multi-stem. You can see here it's got 1, 2, 3. And I think what they do is they just plant 3 tree whips together, and it forms, they kind of grow into each other and become one root ball, and then you have a multi-stem tree. So this one is a little smaller, which would make it easier to plant, and it is full sun, and it's a feature landscape tree, $39.98. And this one gets to be 40 to 60 feet high, 40 feet wide, hardy to zone 3, -30 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. A northern red oak, full sun, also a shade tree, beautiful fall color with this red foliage, $36.98. Another large tree, gets to be 80 feet high, 50 feet wide, hardy to zone 3, -30 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. And check out these beautiful conifers. These are focal evergreens that look absolutely gorgeous in your flower beds. There are 2 varieties here by Monrovia. There is a weeping Norway spruce and a weeping blue spruce. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. Now these are definitely an investment. They're a little more expensive, but so worth it. If you can save a little bit of money to add one of these focal trees to your landscape, they really just bring so much beauty. So this one here is the weeping blue spruce. It's called the blue spruce. It's a full sun evergreen, and look at that color foliage. It gets even more blue-gray in the heat of summer. So here is the tag on this one. It's a full sun, dramatic accent, easy care plant. This one here is $114. And it has a weeping shape, which means it will stay fairly compact. So the guide on the size here is saying that it would get 6 feet tall by 6 feet wide. Any type of weeping evergreen is going to stay more compact. And this one here needs full sun. It is hardy in zones 2 through 8. So if you live in a really cold zone, this is even hardy down to zone 2. So -50 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. PC Pungens the Blues. If I had to guess, this is a 7-gallon container, and the tree itself is maybe about 3 feet tall to the tip. And here is the weeping Norway spruce. So these are about that same 3-foot height, 2.5 to 3 feet height. Once you take it out of the container, it looks to be about 7 gallons. They put on the most beautiful color on the tips in the spring, and these little pine cones. So this here is the weeping Norway spruce, PC Abbey's pendula, full partial sun, dramatic accent, easy care plant. These are $129. And let's see, so again, because it is a weeping, it's going to be a more compact habit. It says it gets to be about 12 feet tall and 8 feet wide. And also very hardy down to zone 2. So hardiness zones 2 through 8, -50 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Plant in partial sun to full sun. And talk about stunning, look at this variegated holly. So pretty. Yellow and green with these striking foliage. So this is a Monrovia variegated English holly. It needs full to partial sun. It provides winter berries. In most cases with hollies, you need a pollinator plant, so a male and a female holly, in order to get berries. This one's actually still holding on to a berry here. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at these colors. The red berries with the variegated foliage. Stunning. So this is, a little higher. It's $199, but it is a really good size holly bush. If I had to guess, this is probably 4 to 5 feet tall already. It looks that it gets to be about 20 feet in height and 12 feet in width. It is partial to full sun for light. Water when top 2 inches of soil is dry. Blooms in spring. Now the blooms are very insignificant, very small, tiny button type blooms, almost like something you would see on the boxwood. But the berries in the foliage is really what you grow these for. So they are evergreen. They are hardy in zones 6 through 9, -10 to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's a moderate grower. They also have this stunning black tulip magnolia. Now, I absolutely love magnolias. This one has a couple of buds, but also some that have already bloomed. And these just get better with age. Every year they put on more buds and more blooms. And once the blooms are done is when the shrub or tree will leaf out for this season. So I always thought that was interesting. Monrovia also has this beautiful magnolia. It's called the black tulip magnolia. Now this one looks like it's currently in bloom, so you wouldn't get blooms this year. They'll probably fade by the time you get it planted, but really beautiful. And this one here says that it's a full sun, early blooms, dramatic accent, $119. And it gets to be 20 feet tall by 10 feet wide. And it is hardy in zones 5 through 9 or -20 to -10 degrees Fahrenheit. This looks to be about a 5 to 7 gallon container. You typically think of local independent nurseries as being the only places that you can find little specialty evergreens or cool pieces like this sculptured pine here, but sometimes you find these hidden gems at the local box store. So this here is the house brand because it's in their black bucket, and it is a pine, a Scotch sculptured topiary or pom-pom type pine rather. And it is $99.98. It needs 3 to 6 hours of morning sun. It's a landscape focal piece, and it says that it can get 40 feet in height and 10 feet in width. But the thing is, with these topiary type plants or shrubs, you're going to be pruning them, and they're going to mostly be maintaining the shape, which means they won't put on a ton of growth. So you can mostly maintain or control its size. So I thought this one was really cool, and it is hardy to zone 4, so pines are really hardy. -20 to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. Look at this gorgeous azalea by Monrovia. It's called Cannon's Double Azalea. Look at this peachy salmon-y color. Apricot with cream. Gorgeous. Has tons of buds, so it's definitely going to bloom for you if you were to purchase it and plant it. It is a full partial sun, dramatic fall color, early blooms, $79, and it looks to be maybe a 5 gallon container. And let's see how big it gets. So this one here is a partial to full sun, keep moist but not soggy, blooms late spring, hardy in zones 5 through 9 or -20 to -10 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's moderately growing, reaching 6 feet tall and 4 feet wide. Lots of proven winners. Forsythia still available. It's all bloomed out now. Look how beautiful this looks. Quintessential spring shrub. This is the show-off Forsythia by Proven Winners. Let's see how big they get. These get to be, let's see, they're hardy in zones 5 through 8. They like sun or part shade, and they get to be 5 to 6 feet tall and wide. Their season of interest is spring. And let's see how big these are. Well, we know that they look to be 2 to 3 gallons, and they are, 2 gallons for $28.98. Dandy Man Color Wheel Rhododendron. Evergreen foliage. Look how beautiful these broad, shiny green evergreen leaves are. Lots of buds. So this is going to be beautiful in a few weeks. My rhododendron bloom, I want to say in mid to late May. And here in my zone 6. And this variety here, the Dandy Man Color Wheel, is a sun or part shade shrub. USDA zones 5 through 9, so hardy -20 degrees Fahrenheit, -28 degrees Celsius. These get to be 4 to 8 feet tall and wide. They currently have 3 varieties of Proven Winner Scotch Broom in stock. Now these are a really cool evergreen. They actually have a broom shape. And in the spring, they have all these little buds, so they'll bloom. And when they're not in bloom, they just look like an upright type of like green sticks, like really cool looking. So the 3 varieties that they have are Sister Redhead, Sister Rosy, which is a type of more pink with a little shade of red maybe, and then Sister Disco, which looks to be yellow with a little bit of red-orange. So these here are let's see, 2 gallon containers for $29.98, and my guess is that they're all going to be similar in terms of growth habit. They like sun. They are hardy in USDA zones 5 through 8 or -20 degrees Fahrenheit and -28 degrees Celsius. They get to be 3 to 4 foot tall and wide, and they are drought tolerant. And Limelight Prime. So this is the first year I'm seeing the Limelight Prime at the garden centers. Again, this was a new introduction a couple of years ago, and so now it's finally made its way to the box stores. We were at Home Depot a couple of days ago, and in that video I showed you that they had received the Limelight Punch, which again was a new introduction to the box stores from what I can tell this year. So the Limelight Prime is supposed to be an improved version of the Limelight Hydrangea. It's supposed to have more blooms, maybe a little bit earlier blooming, and more upright or more sturdy branching. So here is the information on the Limelight Prime. It is a sun part shade shrub, hardy in zones 3 through 8, negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 40 degrees Celsius, and they get to be 4 to 6 feet tall, 4 to 5 feet wide. These are panicle type hydrangeas which bloom on new wood, and they are definitely more tolerant of sun. I have some little lime planted in my garden, and that hedge does wonderfully, and it is in full sun all day. So these here handle sun like a champ. So this is a number 2 container, 2 gallon for $28.98. A new spirea that I just saw for the first time as well, and this one here by Proven Winners is called the Double Play Artisan. And spirea also are a great shrub. They have really pretty foliage, and they get these bloom clusters that the pollinators love at some point in early to midsummer. So let's see. That's what they look like in the landscape once they bloom. Little mounds with these little clusters of blooms. They are a sun to part shade shrub, hardy zones 3 through 8 or negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 40 degrees Celsius. They get to be 2 to 2.5 feet tall and wide. They have colorful foliage. They are a petite shrub, so very compact, meaning it would fit in many applications, or even in a small garden. You might be able to find a spot to tuck one in. And seasons of interest are spring with its foliage, and then summer when it blooms. And these here are 2 gallon containers for $27.98. They've also started getting a lot of their ferns and their summer blooming container plants like the tropicals, like mandevilla. And see these topiary here? They're really cool, but they are not hardy in my zone 6. So you would have to protect these if you wanted to try to overwinter them. This is a Eugenia, and it's called Monterey Bay Topiary Eugenia. It's $49.98, needs full sun, and see, hardy to zone 9. So even if you're in a garden center in your region, you have to know what your gardening zone is to know whether or not something would be hardy. If you planted this in your garden and you left it outside, it would die. So you want to make sure that this is just planted in a container. It's seasonal interest. You can keep it on a patio for the summer, but if you don't protect it, it won't live. But it is really pretty. However, if you live in a 9 zone or above, you can plant this in your garden. It would probably do great. They're also starting to get these patio hibiscus, and these are still waiting to be put out. But they also have a couple of different varieties of ferns this year. They have the Kimberly fern, which I find to be a little more narrow and upright foliage. They have some Boston ferns, which we'll take a look at shortly. And look at these monster ferns. Look at the leaves on these. Let's see what those are called. They are the Macho Fern. Well, how cool is that? Now, I've been overwintering my ferns. They're doing good. I just need to clean them up, fertilize them, and start getting them outside when the weather is a bit warmer. But I absolutely love ferns in the summer outside. These are by Costa Farms, these Macho Ferns, and they're $19.98 for 1.7 gallon. And the Kimberly Queen Fern is $19.98, and these also look to be about a 1.66 gallon. And let's see here, hardy to zone 10. They get to be 2 feet in height and 3 to 4 feet in width. Now when I buy these, I always divide them out of the container because they're pretty root bound. So they're very happy to be divided. They take a little bit to start picking up, but once you divide them and you plant them out, once they're happy, they start growing really quickly, and they go until the fall. And just before it starts getting too cold, you have to decide what to do. Either let them go or protect them to overwinter them. They also have lots of statuary, bird baths and urns and benches at really reasonable prices. So good place to check out. I'm really liking this bird bath right here. This dark brown color. I made a video actually last year about LOWES statuary that you can check out if you want to get some ideas on the prices. They seem to be very similar to last year. And look at these cute pineapple bird baths. Now, I don't see a price for the pineapple bird bath. Let me see if I can find something. $44.98. But look at these cherry ceramic ones that they just got in. How pretty. Teal green and sunny yellow. They're $49.98. Now, it says that they are frost tolerant, which is good actually, because if you happen to leave these out over the winter, then that will be less likely that they would crack on you. But what I typically do is I take the top off and I just kind of tip it over and lean it against the base, and that way there's no chance of water sitting on the top. And with the cold weather, of course, the thaw and freeze cycle, it could cause cracks. So that's another option. You could bring it into a shed or a basement if you have that option. But if not, the fact that these are listed as frost resistant is helpful. They still have quite a few of these green Gem Boxwood, and I actually just discovered this variety. Usually they have the green velvet, the green mountain, and I came across this green gem this year, and what drew me to them was the fact that they appear to be more compact. They are listed as growing about 2 by 2, so 2 foot height, 2 foot width. So if you have any experience with this variety, comment below. I'd be interested to know, because I'm planning on planting some in my garden in just a week or two. So these are part sun. They need 3 to 6 hours of morning sun. This size here is 1 gallon for $13.98. Says that they get to be 2 by 2, 2 feet in height, 2 feet in width, hardy to zone 4, -20 to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. And supposedly they grow in a more globe shape. So that would be cool. That's what I'm hoping. Well, that brings us to the end of this April spring inventory of the garden center at Lowe's. I hope that you've enjoyed checking out what they have in stock, getting us all excited for gardening season. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.